Hi, it's Ellie from the Radiant Form. Thank you for joining me today. Because sustained flexibility requires a great deal of strength, today we've got another challenging sequence um, to open up, release the hips, and also strengthen the legs and the core and everything that helps enable our hips to stay open and loose and soft and working really well. So we want all of our joints to be lubricated really well to keep that flexibility and movement. And obviously, we want to all be strong enough to live the kind of life that makes us feel good in our bodies. So, we're going to start today from a sitting position. So, if you would like to sit up on a blanket or a towel, feel free. You might want some blocks today. And as we ground down, we're going to really um, focus our attention here on sinking the hips. Our hips do so much for us, and there's so many muscles that work all together in tandem in the deep core, the abdominal muscles, the lower back, all of our gluteal muscles, the hamstrings, hip flexors, even the quads. All of this works together at our center, helping us find balance and stability. So as we open up through the hips today, we might be aware of a whole lot of sensations, both physical and emotional. And whenever a lot comes up for us to process, it can be really helpful to focus on gratitude. So today, if you would like to join me in my intention, I'm going to offer this practice to live my life with awareness and gratitude. Anytime I have a difficulty or a place where I feel unstable or like I'm not able to move into something easily, that's a moment to reflect and be grateful for what I am doing and for the hard work that I'm doing to make my spirit and my body more how I want it to be. So, all those moments of difficulty are choices. And at least for this hour, I choose to live through those moments with awareness and gratitude. So, breathing in, lengthening up through the spine, and exhaling, softening the shoulders down the back. Letting that attention on the exhale sink back, down through the spine, deep into the hips. Inhaling, letting my awareness rise up all the way up through the crown of my head, and exhaling, keeping that length but letting everything soften and sink down. We'll do that a few times with the arms. Inhaling, rising up. Exhaling, letting them float back down to the earth. Gently resting the fingertips on the earth. Inhaling, rising up. And exhaling, letting them sink back down. One more time here. Inhaling up and exhaling the hands down to the knees. We'll do a few seated cat and cows, trying to keep our hips where they are, not letting them pop up too much, but moving through the core and through the upper back and the spine. So inhaling, drawing the chest forward. It doesn't have to be a big movement here. So instead of really folding forward, just moving the heart forward, shoulders back. And exhaling, drawing in firmly through the belly, pulling that heart back, rounding through the upper back. Big exhale, inhaling forward, drawing the heart forward and up, gently lifting the chin. Exhaling, tucking the chin, pulling back through the chest, rounding through the upper back. Twice more, inhaling, chest forward. And exhaling, rounding back. One more here, big inhale, moving forward. This one you can make a bigger movement, extending through the whole spine and exhaling, tucking the pelvis, drawing the belly button back to the spine, tucking the chin, inhaling back to center. We'll lift both arms up on the inhale and exhale, dive off to your right side, letting the hand come down, maybe the elbow, pulling that shoulder blade back. 2 breaths here. Inhaling, exhaling, extending, lengthening on the inhale, extending on the exhale, and inhaling back up through center. We'll dive off to your left, dropping that left hand down, maybe left elbow, lengthening out through the right armpit. Drawing the belly button back on the exhale, inhaling, lengthening, exhaling, folding deeper in. Inhaling back up to center. And this time we'll interlace the fingers out in front of us. So interlacing the fingers and pressing the palms out, thumbs down, lifting those arms up on the inhale. Trying not to shrug up too much at the shoulders, but bending the elbows as much as necessary. Keeping the ribs in. We'll inhale up and exhale, twist off to your right side. Using all those core muscles, turning them on. Inhale, draw the belly button in, and exhale, twist further. Feeling that opposition between your right hip and your belly button. Pulling back. One more breath here. Inhale, exhale, twist, and inhale back to center. Exhale, release the arms. Roll the shoulders a little bit, shake them out. Inhale, the arms right in front of you, and we'll interlace other pinky on top this time. Exhale, face those palms toward the front. And inhale, lift them up to the sky. Exhale, soften them down so they're not shrugging up. We don't want any extra tension in the neck. As we inhale, lift up through the spine, and exhale, twist off to your left side. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twisting a little bit more, trying to pull that, your right hip back. I said it backwards the other time. Lengthening up and twisting on the exhale, keeping all that length. One more inhale and exhale here. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale back to center. Let those arms float down. Big shoulder circles here. Inhaling them up and exhaling them back down the back. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, let the shoulders rise, and exhale, let them sink and soften. We'll go the other way. Inhaling forward, exhaling down. Inhale up, exhale forward and down. Feeling movement and fluidity through the whole spine as you breathe here. Now we'll just lift those arms back up on an inhale. And this time, twisting off to your right side again with the left hand on the right knee, placing that right hand behind you, lifting up, and exhaling, twist, moving a little bit deeper this time as we warm up through the spine, get that blood flowing all the way through that whole erector column, and also using a little bit of strength from our arms here. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, twist. And inhaling, we'll come back to center. Exhale, right hand to left knee, left hand behind you. Sitting up nice and tall on the inhale, and exhale, twisting over to that left side. Inhale, lengthen, exhale. Keep the length and deepen just ever so slightly. Muscular energy from the arms helping to move us deeper into the twist. Imagine your breath traveling up and down the whole spine right now. Inhaling back to center. And exhale, gentle fold forward just for a brief minute. Offering your heart into this practice. We'll do a little bit of a fire log stretch here. So drawing the left shin parallel with the front of the mat and the right shin either in front of it, parallel again with the front of the mat, or else on top of it here. We'll place, well, I guess, actually, we'll do right shin on bottom and then left foot on top. So left ankle on top of right knee and right knee stacked right over, left knee stacked right over the right ankle. So we want to be pretty square here. So if you need any kind of blankets or props or blocks, feel free. Maybe placing a block underneath that left knee so that it has something to relax into that can facilitate opening up through the hips when they don't have to clench in order to stay in a position. Any kind of time we can offer assistance through the use of a prop to offer relaxation to our muscles, we can actually increase the flexibility a little bit more. So here my hip has a chance, my left hip has a chance to really just let go in this pose. There'll be plenty of opportunity in the rest of this practice to develop some strength. So deep breath in, and if you feel compelled to deepen this stretch, you can lean forward, nice flat back. Not pressing too hard here, just getting our hips ready to move. Lengthening on the inhales and deepening on the exhales. One more full breath cycle here. And sitting up on your next inhale, remove any props that you have. And we'll just lean back into the hands and kind of stretch the legs out in front of you, give them a little shake. And then taking that left shin parallel to the front of the mat. We will take our right foot, our right leg, and put it on top or in front. So if that's more comfortable for your knees or anything. So when I sit up, I'm going to move my glutes back so they're not in the way. My sits bones are in contact with the mat beneath me. My feet are both flexed so that the soles of my feet are perpendicular to my shins. And I'm going to place that block again underneath my right knee here to facilitate softening through the right hip. Letting it unclench, unwind. Sometimes I like to visualize knots untying. You know, a great big knot that has all kinds of folds in it and twists and turns. Just envision it loosening, widening out, softening, space between all of those ropey muscles. Nice deep breathing here. Inhaling, lengthening through the exhale, lengthening through the legs. Imagine everything elongating. And on the exhale, keeping all that length and softening. Folding forward if it feels good. If you fold forward, try to keep your spine straight. Maybe gentle tuck of the chin. Micro adjustments here. Deep inhale. Exhale, soften. One more full breath cycle. Nice, long, slow exhale. And on your inhale, sitting up, removing the block. Leaning back into the hands. Extend the legs, give them a little bit of a shake. And we'll get ourselves moving right away here into some strength and balance poses. So coming into our hands and knees, place the hands just about a handprint, a few inches in front of where they would be if they were right under your shoulders. Tuck the toes under and spinning the inner thighs back. We'll press up and back into downward dog. So take a moment here to get steady. Maybe rocking forward and back just a little bit, pedaling out the feet. I like to rock back onto the pads of my feet, spread out the toes, spread out through my fingers. Find a place that feels really good. My hands are about shoulder width distance and my feet about hip socket distance apart. Stretch, spine long, chest back, inner thighs spiraling back toward the back wall. Big, deep stretch here. One more inhale, lengthening up through the arms, through the spine, and exhaling, lengthening down through the legs. And on the next inhale, we'll lift that right leg up into our three-legged dog. And this time, we'll open the hip up and bend the knee into our nice bent leg, three-legged dog. Take a moment and notice your shoulders. Try to keep them even. Don't let them rotate too much. Lift up out of those arms. You can rotate the ankle one direction and the other direction. Lift that knee up to the sky. Big, deep hip opener here. And on the inhale, bringing that hip back into a straight alignment with the other hip. We'll bring it forward, drawing it firmly into the chest, rocking forward so our shoulders are right over our wrists. Holding that knee here for just another second. Really activating through the core, pulling in through the belly button, and then bring that leg forward in between the hands. Taking as many steps as you need. We're going to come into a high lunge here, so you can widen out the feet if that feels good for stability, making sure my knee is right over my ankle, not in front of it. I'm preparing myself, mentally turning on through my legs, pulling back through my right hip, and rising up into a high lunge. So finding our stability here, bend a little bit through the back leg so you can tuck the pelvis under. Nice deep inhale and exhale, and we're going to move through some gentle lunges and into a warrior three to really get our blood pumping here. So we'll inhale, bend the back knee, tap it down, and exhale, dive forward into a warrior three pose, balancing on that right leg, pressing through the right heel. Back into our high lunge, and exhaling, dipping the knee down, inhaling back up, and exhaling, stepping up onto that front leg, pressing our back heel to the back wall, warrior three, pulling the arms back behind us. One more time, inhaling up into high lunge, exhale, dipping the knee down, inhale, rise back up, and exhale, coming forward to balance on that right leg in our warrior three. My hips are level here. And then from here, I'm just going to rotate my hips open, drawing my hand down to the floor 6 to 12 inches in front of my foot on the floor or a block, and gradually opening slowly, nice and wide, keeping my back leg parallel with the earth, opening into half moon. Hand on the hip for balance. If it feels okay and you feel strong, lifting it up, drawing the shoulder blades together. My balance is a little iffy right now, so I'm just going to keep my hand on my hip, really pressing my back heel as though I could stomp on the wall behind me, foot firmly flexed. Optional here to bend that back knee, grabbing it, and then kicking the heel out into a sugarcane pose. Deep breath, find a steady gazing point. And that's it on sugarcane for me. So coming back into our half moon. If you're in sugarcane, go ahead, exhale, release back into half moon, and then drawing that left hand down to the ground, we'll come into our standing split. Bend the right knee as much as you need to. We're going to get our hips nice and even here. You can even bring that right hand back to the sacrum to feel. And extend through that top leg as much as possible. We're going to do a little bit more work on the quadricep here. So just 3 little squats here. We're going to draw that left knee right behind the right knee and squat down for 1, back and half splits. And squat for 2, half split. And squat for 3, back into our standing splits, and lower that leg down to the ground. Feet hip width distance apart or a little wider. Go ahead, shake the legs out just a little bit. A little halfway lift, coming up, fingertips to the earth or to your shins or to your quads. Just really envision, use that inner eye to feel your spine straight and strong. Don't lock out through the knees. And folding forward, bending the knees however much you need to. And then we'll come down, widen the feet out about mat distance, coming into our garland pose or malasana squat. Rocking side to side here a little bit, straightening out through the spine, lengthening up through the crown of the head, really releasing through the inner thighs, through the lower hips, through the glutes. And then standing up on your inhale, we'll just take that same left leg back into our low lunge. Our right front foot is still pretty wide, and my hands are both inside it for lizard. You can drop your back knee if that feels good. Up or down, it is fine either way. What we really want is to make sure our knee is over our ankle and not coming forward of it. So make any adjustments you need to. If you need a block here, take a block. We're going to stay here for another second in our lizard pose, feeling that deep release through the back hip flexor, and trying to find some softness through this outer hip here, this front hip. If it feels good to come down onto your elbows, see how that feels, see if you can do that. Whatever you do though, try to keep an awareness through the spine. Keep it nice and strong. If you're on your elbows, go ahead and come back up. And then we're going to turn both of our feet onto the outer edge of both feet. So we're going to come onto the outer edge of the left foot and of the right foot into this horizon lunge here. Letting the hips sink down. You can make this as active or as passive as you want. Really active pose is I'm pressing firmly to that back leg and pulling up through the outside of my right thigh, extending firmly through the top arm. If I'm more passive here, I'm just going to sink down onto the earth, and it's a nice big deep stretch here still, maybe even a stretch through the outer left thigh, the bottom leg, but a little bit less muscular action required. It's still a pretty deep opener though, so nice deep breaths in and out. Feel kind of the change as we hang out here for one more breath. And then on the inhale, rotate everything forward again. And then walk that front leg in just a little bit so it's in between your hands. Come back up on the back foot and take that back foot in a little bit so it's a little bit narrower than our downward dog. And point those toes kind of toward the front left corner of your mat into pyramid pose. Folding over here. Stretching out the hamstring. Pull back on that right hip. Firmly pulling through the right heel. Squeezing the inner thighs together. Deep inhale, lengthening out the spine. Exhale, folding forward. And then turning those back toes back. Just come down into a low lunge here. A nice heavy head lunge with hands up on blocks or on the earth. And then we'll draw that right leg back and come into a child's pose. Knees really wide here. You can have your arms behind you or forward. This is just meant to be a deep release for the outer hips, outer thighs, low back. Send your breath energy there. All your awareness right now all your gratitude to these hard-working hips, deep and open. I live my life with awareness and gratitude. Deep release in this child pose. And on your next inhale, rise up to tabletop. You might want to stretch back through that right leg a little bit, but we just worked really, really hard. And then we'll make our way into downward dog. Stretching out. Give yourself a few petals, really honoring that right hamstring, right leg, pressing deep into it, opening up. And then one full breath cycle in stillness. Inhaling, lengthening, exhaling, softening and deepening. And then on your next inhale, we'll lift that left leg up, raising it even with the other hip, and then we'll open up that hip, bend the knee. Take a second to check in with the hands and shoulders, keeping them even. Rotating the ankle in one direction and in the other direction. Press the knee up to the sky. Pull it away. Feel it through the right hamstring, through the left inner thigh. Notice everywhere you feel that deep sensation. And then evening out the hips, we'll bring it forward, knee into the chest, firmly pulling it there, lifting it up, shoulders over the wrists. Hold for just one more second and draw that left foot in between our front leg, or in between our hands. Rocking a little bit here, preparing to lift up, scissoring the legs together, making sure my left knee is right over my left ankle, drawing that left hip under me and pulling it back, and on the inhale, lifting up into high lunge. Settling in here, making sure that my feet are wide enough to give me a stable base. We'll bend through the back knee slightly to help tuck the pelvis and make sure that this hip flexor is getting its good stretch but not drawing our hips out of alignment. And lifting up, we'll move into that challenging squat. I'm actually going to just step back a little bit. So we'll inhale and exhale, dip that knee down to the mat. Inhaling up and exhaling, balancing into our warrior three on the left side, keeping my hips level and even, back foot flexed, stepping back into high lunge. Inhale, exhaling, squat it down, gently tapping the knee, inhaling back up, and exhaling into warrior three, pressing through the heel. Inhale up, exhale, tap the knee down, inhale back up into high lunge, and exhale, pull forward into warrior three. Holding this warrior three, really trying to rotate that right hip down, not letting it pop up. Pressing deep into my left heel. And then we will open up into our half moon pose. Left hand 6 to 12 inches in front of the left foot. Opening up slowly, letting your gaze find its gentle drishti, its focus point. Soft and steady gaze. And then as you open, pull in through the core, lifting up that back leg so it is parallel with the earth. Flexing the foot firmly as though you could stomp on the back wall. If you're steady, lifting up the arm or keeping it on the hip. Sometimes it's steadier not to use the block for me. And some days, balance is just tricky. So if you fall out, come back in. I don't know if we'll get sugarcane on this side. Let's see. If you can reach back, bending the knee, press the heel away. Draw that left hip firmly under you, firming up through the glutes, through the hips and thighs to give yourself that extra stability. And then inhaling, we'll come into our standing split. So bend that left knee as much as you need and extend up through the right leg. We'll do 3 of those Jiva squats, exhaling or inhaling down and exhaling to extend. Inhaling, squatting knee behind knee, exhaling, drawing it all up. One more inhale, squat, exhale, press through the right leg, strong through that left standing leg, and release it down. Shake out those legs a little bit. Folding forward into ragdoll. Grabbing hands to opposite elbow if that feels good. Letting the spine release. Inhaling up to halfway lift. And exhaling, widen the legs out, walk the feet out wide, and squat down into our Malasana garland pose. Moving a block underneath the hips if you need that for stability. Press those elbows into the knees, making sure that if the toes go out, the knees go the same direction. And then coming halfway up, we will step that same right leg back with our left foot wide and both hands inside the front foot for lizard pose. You can have your back leg up or down, whatever feels good, whatever you need most today. Hands up on blocks or on the earth. Find a deep release here through this right hip flexor and through the left thigh, the left hip. Maybe coming down to the elbows for a breath. My left knee is right over my left ankle, not going in front of it. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, soften and sink. And then we'll come into that horizon lunge, that sideways twist here. So rotating both my feet onto their outside edges. First, I'll come into the active pose. I'm really strong through my right arm here, wrist directly under my shoulder, lifting up and out of my arm. So here I'm scissoring my legs together, drawing my right hip up, feeling this deep stretch here all the way through the whole outer edge of my left leg. And then I'm going to release down. I'm going to be a little bit more passive. Still feeling maybe even a bigger, deeper stretch through the left leg. Find whatever you need today. Extending out to that left arm, powerful energy, movement. I live my life with awareness and gratitude. Awesome. Inhale back to center, back into our low lunge. And we'll come into a child's pose again, deeply releasing through the hips. Breathing as though your breath could actually move into your lower back and into your hips. And then we'll come forward from tabletop to our chin and our chest, lower all the way down to the ground. Just come into a Sphinx pose here for a second. So our elbows are right underneath our shoulders. I've got my hands spread out. I'll back up a little bit. My fingers spread wide. And I'm drawing my elbows back, drawing my heart forward, lifting up through my lower belly, pulling myself forward, soft through the glutes, soft through the legs. If anything, a gentle spinning up of the inner thighs toward the ceiling, letting the shoulder blades slide down the back. Just really giving my whole lower half a break here for a minute and widening up through my chest, preparing for some of our other poses here. Lowering myself all the way back down to the earth. I'm going to take my arms wide, tenting my fingertips so they're really kind of right underneath my elbows. And I'm going to lift up into a cobra pose and then dip my left shoulder down to the earth and my left cheek down, feeling a nice stretch through the front of my shoulder. Inhaling back up and exhaling the other way, dipping my right shoulder down and my right cheek, right temple down to the mat. Feeling it maybe even in my shoulder blades. One more time to each side. Inhaling up and exhaling, twisting to the side. And then staying on our bellies with arms out to a T. I'm going to tent my left fingers again right underneath my left elbow and then roll onto my right side, bending my left knee and kickstanding it behind my right extended leg. So I'm getting a really deep stretch here through my chest and through my right shoulder, maybe even right bicep, depending on how you're twisting. My right palm is on the ground. If you're really, really open and flexible here, you can take your left arm up and rolling the hips open, bending the right knee. I can't meet my hands, but some people, you could meet them and clasp them, perhaps. That's not happening for me today. So take one more breath wherever you are and roll back on the exhale, back to the center of the mat. Arms out to a T. Total relaxation for one breath here. And then tenting the right arm, the right fingertips underneath my right elbow, and my left arm still extended straight out. I'm going to roll onto my left side, stretching out through that left chest, left deltoid, left arm, and bending my right knee, placing my foot flat on the floor behind me. You can rest your head wherever it feels comfortable. Opening up through the chest here. Lift the arm up if you feel like it. Continuing to roll. There's the stopping point for me. Open through that chest. Deep breaths. Always staying just within what your body needs to do today. Exhaling, we'll roll back onto our bellies, coming into cobra pose. So rolling the shoulders back, hands by the low ribs, pressing up, open heart, and back into downward dog. Deep release here. Feel those open shoulders, open hips. Inhaling, drawing the right leg up to the sky, keeping your hips level this time. And we'll bring that knee into the chest, coming forward, and draw your right knee towards your right wrist, coming into our pigeon pose. Make any adjustments you need to feel comfortable here. We want our hips to be even and pretty square. We don't want to roll off to the right hip too much. We want it to be able to release evenly. Making sure the back toes are pointed straight behind us. We'll just take 3 breaths here, up or down. If you feel really open and you want to come down onto your forearms, feel free. So as we move through the next variations of pigeon, if it doesn't feel good to you, just stay in whatever variation of pigeon feels good. So if that's sitting straight up with a blanket underneath the right hip, just stay there. Let's keep this here and see what happens. If you would like to move a little deeper into some pigeon variations, go ahead and take your left forearm parallel with the front of the mat. That's the opposite of whatever knee is bent. And then twist toward that knee. Take a deep breath here to lengthen out the spine and exhale, twist a little further. And then on the inhale, lift that arm up to the sky. Moving gradually and gracefully. And then bend that left leg, the back leg, if you can, and grab that back foot. This is one of those bonus stretches. We're getting a much deeper opening through the right hip and also through the left quad. Twisting through the spine, opening up through both hips, hip flexor, quadricep. One more deep inhale here. And exhaling, come back to center. Keeping the legs as they are. We'll bend that left leg again and pressing into the right hand. Maybe if you need a block to get a little bit more length. Lift that left leg or the left arm up and reach it back around for the left leg this time. Now we're moving in the direction of having our hips and our shoulders both square to the front. So we're trying to make that to always stay even and relaxed. And if you can, we'll move the left foot into the crook of our left elbow. So here I have a tendency, I can feel that I'm starting to sink into my lower back here. So I'm going to just prop my right hip up a little bit more. See if that helps. I don't want to leak energy out and collapse through my lower belly. Lifting that right arm up and bending it, you might be able to reach the hands, you might not. Reaching the hands isn't necessarily the best thing if you can do it, but why not? Smiling a little bit wherever you are, breathing, softening. Here I am in my mermaid pose. For an earth sign like me, this is a pretty exciting pose to get into. It's as close as I get to a water sign. Deep breath, inhale, and exhale, slowly, gently release. Now, we're going to keep our front leg bent and roll onto that right hip now on purpose and draw the left leg in front here. We're going to stack our knee on top of our knee for cow face pose. So the more you bring your feet forward parallel to the mat, the deeper stretches is going to be. So draw your feet back as much as you need to and move any glutes out of the way. Rock back a little bit. So we're really getting onto our sits bones. And take a second here to let that energy sink back down, straightening through the spine, head over heart over pelvis. And then we'll lift that left arm up and bend it, bringing the right arm up and over, lengthening up and stretching the left tricep, the left hand. If you can reach, we can draw our right arm out, palm facing the back wall behind us, and try to clasp hands. If that's not available, go ahead and grab your shirt, or just keep your arms in this sort of traditional tricep stretch. Try not to let the lower ribs pop out too much. Pull in up through the belly, gentle tuck of the chin. Deep breathing. I'm filled with awareness and gratitude. I let my awareness wake up during my yoga asana practice, especially in these deep deep hip openers. There's so much sensation. It's an awesome opportunity to just touch base with our awareness. Let it slap us in the face a little bit. Inhaling, arms up, and exhale, hands behind you. We'll straighten out both the legs, shake them out. And then coming up to sit in our seated staff pose. Lift the arms up on an inhale. We'll just have a little bit of a seated forward fold here. Reaching for whatever is available to us. Toes point up toward the ceiling, inner thighs gently rolling down. Hinging from the hips, back nice and straight. Inhaling back up to seated. We'll cross the legs and roll over our knees. And coming back into our downward dog pose. Pressing firmly through all 10 fingers, and especially the thumb and first finger. Spiraling the elbows forward and the shoulders back. Lifting up through the spine and pressing down through the legs. Inhaling, lifting the left leg up. Keeping the hips even. And we'll draw that left knee forward into our chest, coming forward for pigeon pose. So left knee toward left wrist. Walking the legs back. Deep breaths here. Go ahead, pat up that left hip however you need to. Remembering that whenever we use a prop to aid us, it allows us to release because we don't have to clench. We don't have to clutch onto something. That's a lesson I think I couldn't have learned in my 20s. But now that I'm getting closer to 40, I think I will accept all the help that comes my way. So, taking the help I give myself and that comes to me from others. Softening into our pigeon pose here. Staying upright or folding forward, whatever feels good. Paying attention, letting your awareness travel through your body. Where do you feel it most? Is it through that right hip flexor? Is it through the left inner thigh, left hamstrings? All the muscles in the glute. One more breath here. And then if you would like to join me moving into some other variations of this pose, feel free or stay where you are. If you're moving with me, we'll move our right arm parallel with the front of the mat, placing the left hand on the left knee and softly twisting. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, twist open. Feel that deeper pull on the left outer thigh and quad and glutes. Inhale and exhale. Inhaling, lift the arm up and bending that back knee. We'll reach for it, drawing it in, feeling that nice quad stretch through the right leg. Making sure not to clench through that upper right trap here, but soften the shoulder away from the ear. Lengthening out through the right quadricep, widening through the collarbones. Inhales, lengthen out, and exhales, sink deeper. One more nice deep breath here. Inhale and exhale, release. Coming up onto the hands. Coming into our mermaid pose. We'll inhale the right arm up and open it back, bending that right knee again. Drawing in through the lower belly, lifting up, and maybe moving that right foot into the crook of the right elbow. I'm going to walk this knee back just a little bit more. Maybe sitting up a little bit further. And if you feel like it, lifting up through that left arm, bringing it back behind the head, working my shoulders and my hips to be even with the front of the mat, drawing strongly up through my spine, through my whole core, trying not to collapse through the lower belly. Feeling a super deep, intense stretch through the front of the right quad, through the right hip flexor, left inner thigh. One more nice deep breath here. Inhaling and exhale, release everything. Take out that blanket if you had it, and we'll roll onto the left hip and circle the right leg so that our knees are stacked. Making some adjustments, getting both sits bones in contact with the floor. Sitting up. And exhale, keeping the spine straight and softening, letting all of that deep energy release down into the hips, inviting them to keep releasing, keep softening. And then lifting that right arm up, we'll bend it so that we can stretch the tricep, bringing that left arm up and pressing it, right palm facing my back, pressing in between my shoulder blades. Nice deep stretch here. Maybe bringing that left arm, palm facing the back, thumb down, behind me, trying to clasp, reaching onto the shirt maybe and just pulling away from each other, making sure not to let my lower ribs pop out, but drawing them in. Gentle tuck of the chin. Keep the arms and the legs wherever it serves you best today. One more deep breath here. Inhaling, lengthening, and exhaling, releasing deeper into the stretch. And then inhale, we'll place the hands behind us. Again, drawing those legs straight out in front of us. Shake them out. And one more seated forward fold. Arms up on the inhale and folding forward, hinging from the hips on the exhale, grabbing whatever is available to you. Working toward a nice straight spine here, but if it feels good to move off to one side and lengthen out through the lower back here, do that. Just take whatever feels good to you. If it feels really lovely to round through the upper back just a little bit, go ahead, do that. If you want to stay still, if you want to move with your breath, go ahead and do so. And then we'll move into a wide leg forward fold. So you can stay as you are or move so that you're on the long ways of your mat. Again, want my sits bones in contact with the earth, and if it feels good to lift your hips up just a little bit on a blanket or a towel, go ahead and do that. Widening out the legs, but keeping my toes and my knees pointing up toward the ceiling. I'm going to lengthen up out of my spine, deep inhale, rising up, and then exhale, hinging from the hips again, coming forward, feeling a nice deep release through all these inner thighs, these adductor muscles here. Keeping my toes pointed up and my knees pointed up helps keep the knee joint nice and safe. So coming down onto the elbows if that feels good. Releasing the head. One more full cycle of breath here. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, soften. And then walking up on the hands, we'll just do some side stretches. So walking the right hand toward the right foot, any amount, maybe lowering the elbow, lift up the left arm, keeping the chest parallel with the front of the mat, and side stretch over. Let the arm dangle or have some muscular strength in it, whatever feels good as we begin to wind down, moving closer to our Shavasana. Feel a nice opening up here through the left side body, all the way from the hip flexor up through the armpit. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale, move a little deeper. And then on the next inhale, rising up, sitting up nice and tall. Inhale and exhale, dive off to the left this time, letting your hand or elbow hit wherever it will. Inhaling that right arm up, and exhale, release and soften. Inhale, fill up the belly, and on your exhale, go ahead and draw the belly button toward the spine. Feel yourself moving deeper into this space of openness. Feel a great big opening all the way from the right hip flexor up through the right armpit. The whole side body opens, softens, releases here. Lifting up. We will draw our feet in, soles of the feet together, and folding forward into our butterfly pose. Getting a nice deep stretch through the inner thighs, pressing the elbows toward the knees. One more deep breath here. And then we will move onto our backs. Slowly lowering onto the back. Bringing the knees into the chest. Draw them tight in, give it some nice compression. Maybe draw the right knee in, extending the left knee out. And then switch. Left knee in, extend the right leg out. Draw both knees into the chest, and then placing the feet on the floor, scoot the hips off to the right, and we'll gently lower the knees off to the left, looking off to the right. Try to keep the shoulder blades on the ground. Imagine that you could turn the belly button up to the sky. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale, turn the belly button up. Inhaling the knees back into the chest, and scoot the hips over to the left a little bit, drawing the knees over to the right, and looking off to the left. Inhaling, lengthening, exhaling, twisting that belly button up to the sky. One inhale to lengthen, exhale to twist, and drawing the knees back to the chest. We'll just take 3 rock and rolls up to massage the spine a little bit. Rocking up and back and up and back. One more time, up and back. And then we'll just release a little bit more through the legs. If you have a block, I recommend trying this out. If you'd like to take a supported bridge pose or a supported legs up the wall, we'll take the block on the lowest or on the medium, lift the hips up, and place the block right underneath the sacrum. So not above it on the lower back and not too low. You really want it on that wide, flat sacrum bone. And then lift the legs up in the air and put it on the medium. Opening up the arms if that feels good. Letting them be nice and wide. Stretching through the chest. Totally releasing the legs. Let go of any tension. Preparing for Shavasana, preparing to really incorporate all this work, all this opening and strengthening that we've done into every cell in our body. Filling up with gratitude, tuning into our awareness. If you don't have a block, you can do this just the same, just legs fully softening. One more deep breath here. And exhaling, lowering the legs. And we'll make our way into our final resting pose, our Shavasana. Extending the legs out nice and long. Moving any flesh away from our tailbone. Rolling our shoulders under however we need to so that they can just flop open. Our arms are soft, our legs are soft. For just a moment as we prepare here for this deep resting pose, place a hand on the heart and a hand on the lower belly. And draw your awareness into your hands. First, feel the fingertips. Notice what it feels like to place your hand over your heart and over your belly. And then take your awareness into the heart space and the belly space underneath the hands. Feel the weight that rests on them. Feel the warmth coming from them. Now take your awareness into the whole body. Feel your breath moving your belly and your lungs. Feel the expansion of your belly underneath the hand and the expansion of your lungs underneath your other hand. Now draw your awareness all the way up and down the whole body. Feel your body in space. Release the hands to the earth, palms up. Feel all the points of contact that you have with the mat. As you prepare to totally let go in this Shavasana, let yourself be at peace with whatever rises up. As thoughts arise, thank them and let them go. Drifting down now. Let yourself be at peace. Total stillness. Go ahead, deepen your breath a little bit, wiggling the fingers and toes, moving through the wrists, and giving yourself a full body stretch. We'll roll off to one side, pausing for gratitude. Gratitude for yourself for being here today. Gratitude for all the opportunities and all the things that your body showed you today. Pressing up to a seated position. We'll come and close our practice with a note of gratitude. I am grateful for you being here with me today. Grateful for the awareness that yoga helps me to have of my own body and of the world. So thank you for joining me today. Today, may you truly feel loved and loving, and may you be radiant. Namaste.